We are back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jim Bunner, America's greatest journalist and host of In the Booth with Jim Bunner. Of course. Okay, all right. So, investments in the new year. Okay, some of you may have wanted to be more fiscally, frugal with your money. Okay, well, I'm going to talk to Tom Carter right now about what investments you should be taking a look at. Folks, it's a new year, and we've all got new expectations for how wonderful the upcoming year is going to be, I suppose. I'm sure all of you out there have made those, what could we call them, those ideas you've come up with that you have no financial or legal obligation to abide by, otherwise known as New Year's resolutions, because all of us are so hopeful for everything in the new year. All right, well, whether you like 2021 or not, some people happen to see 2021 as a time of prosperity and are looking forward to 2022. One of those groups is American Conservative Values ETF, which I guess is looking ahead to this year after a year of exceeding expectations. Now, this is something that I never guessed. When you have an investment, when you have a 401k or something along those lines, did you know that your 401k might be going towards some group that supports some liberal cause that you are not a fan of? Okay, this is interesting. Now, I guess that from what I understand, American Conservative Values ETF is looking out for people who don't want their investments to go to things like that. And I'm being joined today by Tom Carter with ACVF, who is a veteran investment expert. Tom, thanks a lot for coming on In the Booth today.
Jim, thanks for having me.
All right, so you know what? It is now 2022. We've got a new year. You know, we've all made our resolutions. I'm dieting right now because I'm so hopeful that I'm going to look very, very good in 2022, long before the... At American Conservative Values ETF, you guys have been prosperous, and you're trying to look out for people who don't want their investments to go to something that they don't believe in. Talk to me a little bit about what your organization is.
You bet. Well, first of all, yeah, you are correct. We did have a good 2021. We actually outperformed the S&P 500 in 2021, and we did that, to your point, by boycotting or divesting in stocks that don't support conservative values. There's a lot to be said about Twitter. There's a lot to be said about Facebook and about how they squelch conservative voices. So we don't invest in those companies. We take investors' money and we try to match large cap or S&P type results in our fund performance, and we do that while boycotting big media, while boycotting social media, and so what we are is an alternative in your investment portfolio where you feel good about investing in the securities that are in our portfolio, and you're not giving your money to people that aren't.
An issue is this. I mean, if somebody, I don't know, let's say they've got an investment in Charles Schwab. Okay, I would think Charles Schwab, as far as I know, I don't actually have any investments with Charles Schwab. Potentially something that a person might invest in that could, I don't know, they might be supporting some group that supports abortion or something along those lines.
And you hold it at Charles Schwab. And Charles Schwab has S&P 500 funds, as do other money management organizations. When you invest in those companies, they match the S&P 500. And currently, we find about 27% in our minds of the S&P 500 are anti-conservative or are doing things that are against conservative values. So what we ask people to do is look into their mutual funds, into their portfolios, and see if you own Twitter or Facebook. See if you own Comcast, who owns NBC and MSNBC. And we think there's a lot of people who are supporting liberal causes, liberal media, liberal social networks, and they don't even know they're doing it. And so what we'd like people to do is look at their portfolios and say, hey, look, I can invest with these guys because they're watching out for my money and they're making sure that I'm not supporting liberal causes.
Okay, well, what if somebody, you said only 25% of investments go towards something that would not be supported by most conservatives. Well, what if somebody has already had investments in something for a very long time and their investment is doing very, very well, and, they've developed a good relationship with the person who's handling their investment? Are you encouraging people to just take money out of those investments?
Absolutely not. That is something between an investor, their advisor. Certainly, there are tax implications when you're doing things like that. We would not argue that anybody who has capital gains built up in portfolios, whether they're invested in conservative companies or not, would just knee-jerk reaction and take their money out. What we are saying is, and if you're in a 401k kind of situation, it's non-taxable. That being said, we think people should bring this to their advisor and say, look, I've heard about this fund. They invest and align their investments with my conservative values. Can I take a look at it? And we'd like their advisor and the person that they work with to look at this, and maybe they have new money to invest and they could come into us. Maybe they are rolling over a 401k into an IRA and they can make some changes in their portfolio and look at going into the American Conservative Values Fund. There's a lot of ways to put new money in it, but we certainly wouldn't suggest a knee-jerk reaction that is going to give the government more of your money than you want to give to it.
Okay, so with your organization then, people can trust that their money is not going to go toward, I don't know, supporting, say, the NFL, even if, most of us look at the NFL and we just say, well, it's a bunch of guys playing football we love watching, but somebody may not want to support the NFL with the kneeling stuff going on.
Well, so one of the things that we've done with the NFL, right, Nike's a big supporter of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick started the kneeling. We boycott Nike. We do not have Nike in our portfolio. Nike is in the S&P 500. It's only about 0.5% of the S&P 500, but even that 0.5% supports Nike. So we don't have Nike in the portfolio. Take the Olympics coming up, right? We don't think Coca-Cola should be supporting the Olympics and supporting the Chinese Communist Party while they host the Olympics. Coke's been out of our portfolio for a long time, but we do look at how companies support different organizations, and we boycott them if we don't feel they're supporting conservative values.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about some of these CEOs that are supporting so many questionable ideas. I mean, you talked about supporting the communist China stocks actually gone down recently because of some of this support.
I'm not sure that they've necessarily gone down. I mean, our conclusion is that we're trying to get large cap performance while boycotting certain companies that we think are anti-conservative. It's very difficult to say that if you are supporting, if you go woke, you go broke scenario. It's very difficult to prove that these woke companies are losing money or their stock prices are going down. I mean, the markets had a great year last year, and a lot of these companies had great years as well. And so it's not necessarily saying that because you are woke, you are going broke. All we're saying is you have the freedom to choose where your investments go, and we think you can invest in companies that do support your values. ESPN has been a big supporter of the NBA. The NBA is basically ignoring what's going on in China, yet they are talking about all the horrible human rights issues in the United States. And so ESPN, who's owned by Disney, is another thing that we look at that. They should. We think the NBA should cut ties with China, but they won't do that because China is such a huge profit for the NBA.
Okay, well, and if people listening right now are interested in possibly putting some of their money into you guys, are they not going to go broke? I mean, how successful has your business been, and how successful?
On a market basis, we are up 40%, and the S&P during that same time is up 39%. So it's very close, but we are beating them, and so the people who have invested with us have done very well. We have raised about $35 million expectations. We're very happy with that. We've exceeded our expectations, but we are trying to get theirs to hear about us, for other conservatives to hear about us. So our job is to get the word out, let them know we're investing and we're trying to get large cap returns while not putting your money with people who don't. ETFS, that's ACVETFS.com, and it stands for the American Conservative Values ETFs. You can also just use your favorite search engine, and I'm not going to name the one that everybody talks about because it's not in our portfolio. Go to your favorite search engine and look for the American Conservative Values Fund or Conservative Investing, and you'll find us there. You can go out and get information on our holdings, on what we don't hold, on what our performance is, and that way you can make sure that you make a good determination with your advisor, or if you invest on your own,
make money by using it, right?
I don't believe they are, no. I mean, I think they make money in a lot of different ways.
Okay, so...
everybody just uses that as vernacular, so I now say search engine.
Okay, but people can still use the search engine to find you guys, and that's not going to be counted as betraying conservative beliefs just by using the search engine. Today, it's been great talking to you.
Jim, appreciate you, what you're doing, and thanks for having me.
All right, so now you know where you can invest your money without it going to Coca-Cola or a nasty search engine. American Conservative Values ETF. There you go. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up in the booth right after this.